The first rule is to divide between two consonants. Letters that are part of a blend are going to stay together. In Rule 4, we will talk more about blends. So right here, we have two consonants, so we're going to split the word here. Vowels in the middle of a syllable are usually going to use their short sound. So here we have dimmer. We're going to split between these two consonants and use the short U sound of so we have bummer. We split right here to get pinning. We're going to split right here and use the short I sound to get slimmer. We split right here and use the short A and the short I to get rabbit. And we split right here and use the short O and the short I to get hopping. All right, you try it with these words. Okay, we're going to split between all the consonants. You'll notice right here for these 4 words, we have 2 of the same consonants next to each other, but this rule also works between 2 consonants that are different. Using our short vowel sounds, because these vowels are in the middle of a syllable, we have hobbit, flipping, running, rubbing, and canter. Now let's practice with some nonsense words. So you can go ahead and pause the video, and once you've read these 5 made-up words, come back and see how you did. All right, we're going to split between the 2 consonants. All these vowels in the middle of a syllable are going to use their short sound. So we have flibbit, pexer, tomper, shunper, and gunder. S and H stay together because they are 2 letters that make one sound. Our second rule is to divide after a vowel before one consonant. This rule has several parts. So first we're going to just do the basic level 1 rule. And our most basic version of this rule is if your vowel at the end of a syllable is an A, E, O, or U, use the long sound. If it's an I or a Y, use the long I sound. So we're going to divide after a vowel before a single consonant right here. This I is at the end of a syllable, so we will use the long sound and get the word diner. We will divide after a vowel before a single consonant. Remember that the letter U has 2 long sounds, oo and U, and often we use oo because the U sound is hard to say, but in this case we say Cupid because we can use the U sound after a K sound. We're going to divide after a vowel before a single consonant. We're going to use the long I sound and get final. Right here, we're going to divide after a vowel before a single consonant and get slimer. Divide after a vowel before a single consonant, use the long A sound and get fader. And right here, after a vowel before a single consonant and get demote. We do not split here because this is a silent E at the end of a word. Now, what would happen if we tried to use the short I sounds in these words? Well, then you would say dinner, but dinner is actually spelled with 2 N's. Likewise, the word slimmer has 2 M's, so you could split between them and use the short I sound. So that's why we have diner rather than dinner and slimer rather than slimmer. All right, go ahead and try these 5 words and restart the video once you've done them. Okay, we're going to divide all of them after a vowel before a single consonant, or right here we have a blend, and the same here, which we will cover in another rule. So we're going to use the long sound. So we have O, pen, open, replete, blatant, reply, and shady. We remember that at the end of a word with multiple syllables, a Y has a long E sound. Okay, the level 2 of this rule keeps all the same rules, but on this screen, we're just going to add the new parts you need to understand. A letter I can have a long I, although we're not going to use that rule on this page. A letter I can also have a short I or a long E, and we will talk more about when a long E is used in Rule 5. The letter Y can also have a short I sound of I. So the rules that are crossed off here are not going to apply to this page, just to make it easier. So on this page, we are going to use the short I or the long E for the letter I and the short I sound of I for the Y. So we're going to divide after the vowel before a single consonant, but we're going to use the short I sound of I for clinic. Here, this O is going to keep its long sound following this part, but we're going to use the short I sound. So we're going to have prohibit. Right here, we're going to divide after a Y. The Y in this word functions as a vowel, and we're going to use the short I. We remember that a C before an E, I, or a Y says S. So this word is going to be cynic. A G before an E, I, or a Y may, but does not have to, say J. In this case, it does, and we're going to use the short I sound and have Jim. Here we have myth. Right here, we're going to use the long E sound. In Rule 5, we'll talk about this more. This is mostly used before another vowel. So we're going to have a long E sound of E, so we're going to have radio. Notice this A still takes the long A sound at the end of a syllable. All right, you try it on these words and see how you do. For the I's and Y's, you're going to use a short I sound. Unless it's an I before another vowel, then try the long E sound. All right, here we have syrup, cylinder, diploma. Notice the O still keeps the long sound at the end of the syllable. Spinach, and patriot. Right here we have an I before another vowel, so it's going to use the long E sound. Again, we will talk about that more in Rule 5. Now, for level 3 of our Rule 2, divide after a vowel before a single consonant, we have some special things that the letter O does. The schwa sound is the short U sound of or sometimes the I sound. The letter O often schwas to an sound before the letters TH, M, N, or V. Here are some common examples of this, like in mother, other, brother, company, month, and oven. So in this word, this one, and this one, I followed the rule, divide before one consonant. The THs are 2 letters, but they make one sound, so we consider it like one consonant. But instead of having the long O sound, we have the short U sound of Right here, we're dividing between 2 consonants, so this O is in the middle, but instead of taking the short O sound of like we would expect for a vowel in the middle, it schwas to And this Y is at the end of a word with multiple syllables, so it has a long E sound. Now, if you have an O after a W, it also takes on a short U sound many times, like in the words wolf, one, wonder, and woman. However, if your WO is followed by an R, it starts to sound like were, like in the word word and work. All right, try this new rule with O before a TH, M, N, or V, or an O after a W using the short U sound. How did you do? You should have divided right here. So here we have honey, shovel. In Rule 8, we will discuss why we're dividing here rather than after the O before a single consonant. Compute. This is using Rule 1, dividing between 2 consonants. But this O takes on the schwa sound of so I put it in here. Here we have nothing and shoving. Right here, the word shove which is the root of shoving, has a silent E, which gets dropped. So we're adding a suffix ing, which is why it's split here and not here. We will cover that more in the rule about suffixes and prefixes. Okay, so here are some nonsense words that you could try. For all these nonsense words, use the level 1 rule of if a syllable ends in a vowel, use the vowel's long sound. Okay, using the long sounds and dividing after a vowel before a single consonant, we would have pofer, yiner, gopi. This Y takes on a long E sound at the end of a word with several syllables, liper, and doofer. Our third rule is an easy rule. It's to divide between 2 words. And each word in the compound word may have multiple syllables. So right here, I recognize the word bath and tub, so I just divide right here. I recognize lip and stick, so lipstick gets split here. Football, rowboat, babysit. Here's an example. Baby has 2 syllables, but it's 1 word, so I just split it right here. And mailbox. You go ahead and try these ones. Okay, we have snowball, birthday, anyone. Any has 2 syllables, but it's 1 word, so I only divided it here. Sunrise and eyeball. All right, here are some nonsense words. Go ahead and split them up. Okay, bat snow, dog tub, cat house, baby ball. Baby has 2 syllables, but it's 1 word, so I only split it here. And ball rain. Next, we are going to divide before or after blends. There's a list of blends in the video's description. So what are blends? Blends are groups of consonants that like to stay together. You could think of them as 2 friends that go everywhere together. So right here, we see NDM. We have 3 consonants in a row, but N and D are a blend. They want to stay together, so we are going to keep them here and then split the word here to have the word grandma, remembering that vowels in the middle of a syllable usually use the short sound. Right here, we have 3 consonants in a row. S and T are a blend, so we divide between this and the blend. And we can also use the rule of divide between 2 words to get lipstick. Right here, we have P and L, which are a blend. So they want to stay together, so we will split between the M and the P and the L to get complete. We could also divide here because com is a prefix, which we will cover in Rule 6. Right here, we have 4 letters in a row. C and K are a blend, well, they make 1 sound, so they're definitely going to stay together. S and T are a blend, so we're going to split here, use a short I sound because that's what we do in the middle of a syllable most of the time to get trickster. Right here, we have 3 consonants. T and R are a blend, so they are going to stay together, so we will split between this consonant and this blend right here. This E is going to have its short sound because it's in the middle of a syllable. And this is going to be the soft C sound of S because it's before an E, I, or a Y to get central. Right here we have 3 consonants in a row that make a blend. We wouldn't split here anyway because every syllable has to have a vowel. So these 3 stay together. TCH is going to stay together. It's another blend that has 1 sound of ch. The TCH spelling is used after a short vowel sound. And we are going to split here because this is the suffix which we will cover more about in Rule 6. So we will split here and we will have scratcher. All right, go ahead and divide these ones, splitting between a consonant and a blend, and then see how you do. Okay, right here. You might think, oh, let's divide between these 2. We've got 2 consonants, but S and P are a blend, so they want to stay together. Also, re is a prefix, so it will be its own syllable, which we will talk about in Rule 6. So we will split here. This E will have a short E sound of because it's in the middle of a syllable. This E will take a long E sound because it's at the end of a syllable, and we will have respect. We will split here because B and R stay together and get embrace. P and L stay together, so we split here to get complete. Right here, we've got 3 consonants. T and R are blend, and in is a prefix, so we split here. And then before a vowel, or after a vowel, before a single consonant, right here. And this is a silent E, so we do not divide here. So we get introduce. Oh, in case I didn't make it clear before, in the middle of a syllable, you usually use the short vowel sound. And also at the beginning of a syllable, you will use the short sound most of the time. G and R are a blend, so we split here to get digraph. All right, here are some made-up nonsense words. I want you to divide either before or after a blend and see how you do. All right, we're going to divide before the blend here because dividing here would leave us with a syllable we can't say. So our syllable ends in an O, so let's try the long O sound first of low truck. S and L stay together. We can't say that sound at the end of a word or syllable, so we will split before it. Let's try the long U sound of you, plue slip. F and L stay together. We're going to split before that blend because that blend does not make sense at the end of a syllable. We're going to use the long E sound, and we get we flock. Right here, we're going to divide after one consonant before a blend and split here. This I is at the beginning of a syllable, so we will try the short sound, and we will have indrum. Right here, we're going to keep these 3 together, split after a vowel before a blend. A Y can have either a long I of I or a short I sound of I at the end of a syllable. This I is in the middle of a syllable, so it will have its short sound of I. So this could either be zyskrid or ziskrid. If you're not sure which one to try the long I sound first. Okay, so here is a list of vowel teams that we often divide between. So right here we have the word radio. And we're going to divide between the I and the O. When we're dividing between these vowel teams, these I's take on the long E sound many times. So we get radio. Right here, we're going to split between the 2 vowels. This U is at the end of a syllable, so our first choice to try is the long U sound. So we have duo right here after a vowel before a single consonant and between a vowel team. So we have manual, manual. This AL sound of al becomes hard to say and tends to schwa. So rather than saying manual, it winds up sounding more like manual. Here we're going to divide between our vowel team and try the long U sound because it's at the end of a syllable. So we get dual. Right here, we're splitting between this vowel team. It's a letter I, and we remember that an I before another vowel tends to take the long E sound, so we have the word trio. We're going to split between these 2 vowels because it's up here on our list. Oh, actually, this one isn't on the list, but this is another example of a time you would do that, and you would try the long U sound here, and you would get fluent. All right, try splitting between the vowel teams in these words. All right, we end this syllable with the letter U, so we try the long sound, truant. We're going to split between 2 consonants right here and between these 2 vowels here. This A is at the beginning of a syllable, so we will try the short sound of A first, actual. We will split between these 2 consonants here, between this vowel team, factual. After a vowel, before a single consonant, and between the vowel team, Ohio. and between the vowel team, bio. This would be an example of where the I keeps a long I sound instead of taking on an E sound. Okay, so if we have prefixes and suffixes, we want to divide after a prefix and before a suffix. So it is very helpful to know many suffixes and prefixes because they are often why words can become very long. And so if you can recognize prefixes and suffixes, a word that was 20 letters long may have 2 or 3 prefixes or suffixes or some at each end of the word, and you may only have to figure out 1 or 2 syllables in between. So if you check the video's description, you can see a list of common prefixes and suffixes. So right here we have this word, and trans is a prefix, so we're going to divide after it. Right here, so we have transfix. Right here I recognize the prefix re and the suffix ish, so we divide right there, and then all we have to figure out is this right here. We have an E in the middle of a syllable, so we will try the short E sound of eh and get replenish. Right here we have the suffix full, so we divide right here, and then we divide right here between the 2 consonants. This E is in the middle, so we will try the short sound, and we will get plentiful, plentiful. Before a suffix, an I often takes on a long E sound because often the root word was spelled with a Y, like the word plenty, and then when the suffix got added, the Y got changed to an I for spelling purposes. So you may hear people say plentiful, or you may hear them say plentiful. You will not, however, hear plentiful. Here we have the prefix in, so we split here and we get inform. Right here we have 2 prefixes. We have miss and in, so we divide there, misinform. And here we have the suffix shun. We will talk more about how this TI says sh in a bit. And this part right here, we have a vowel at the end of a syllable, so we will try a long A sound first and have nation. Okay, go ahead and try it with these words. All right, we are going to divide after a vowel before a single consonant here and before this suffix here. So we have vacation. Now, this is 1 prefix, but it's 2 syllables. I put it in green because it's 1 prefix. And likewise, this is 1 word that is 2 syllables. I should have divided it right here. So this is antibody, and sometimes you will hear people say antibody. So this prefix seems to have 2 pronunciations. Right here we have the root teach, and we have the suffix so we split here and we get teacher. Here we have a prefix and a suffix, so we split there. And right here we have an E in the middle of the word, so we will try the short sound of and get inventor. And right here we have the suffix itty. I know it's 2 syllables, and we're going to split between 2 consonants right here. This A is at the beginning of a syllable, so try the short sound. The I is in the middle of the syllable, so try the short sound, and we will have activity. So another key to understanding how to pronounce the various suffixes is that there are Latin spellings of the sound sh. In many words, the sh sound is spelled with a TI, a CI, or an SI. And here are some of the Latin suffixes that use this. So right here, we have the root part. And when we turn it into the word partial, we don't spell it with an SH, we spell it with a TI before the suffix AL, partial. Here our root is resident. It ends in a letter T, so we are going to use the TI to spell the sh sound rather than the SH, so we get residential. Here we have the word facial. The root of it is the word face, which ends in a CE. That means when we change it from face into facial, we are going to use a CI to spell the sh sound rather than an SH. So we end up with facial. Here we have crucial. Right here we have physician and tertiary. So if your root word ends with a T or a TE, when you go to add a Latin suffix, the sh sound is going to be spelled with a TI. If your root word ends with a C or a CE, the sh sound is going to be spelled with a CI. And if it ends in an S or a double S, it's going to be spelled with an SI rather than SH. So go ahead and divide these words into syllables. Okay, here we have the prefix X, so we divide here. And we have a suffix right here, so we split there, and we have extension. Right here we have Russian. I put this S in gray because we do not say Russian. The S sound by itself disappears and gets taken over by the sh sound. Here we have the prefix con. SCI in this word is going to have the sh sound, so we have conscience. Right here is the suffix shus. The SCI together says sh, and OU sometimes says so shus, like in the word conscious. Here we're going to divide between the two consonants. Since our root ends in two S's, the SH is going to be spelled, the SH sound is going to be spelled with SI. This S in gray disappears and we end up with aggression. And when I say it disappears, I mean the sound disappears. It's still there for spelling. There are some other words where SI instead of sh says the voice sound of zh. These are words that end in, where the root ends in DE or SE. So if you have the verb collude and you want to turn it into the noun collusion, it's going to take on a zh sound rather than a sh sound. So we divide right here between the two consonants, collusion. Right here we have collide. It ends with a DE. So when we turn this verb into the noun collision, we're going to spell the zh sound with SI, collision. Right here we have delude, and when we turn this verb into the noun delusion, we're going to spell the zh sound with the SI, delusion. All right, you try it with these words. I put the verb form, and then I put the noun that we are turning it into. So you divide them into syllables and pronounce them correctly, remembering that the SI in these words, because it is taking the place of a DE or an SE, is going to take on the voiced zh sound. All right, we have the prefix im, so we split here. We split before our suffix, implosion. Split after the prefix, before the suffix, exclusion. After a vowel, before a single consonant, and before a suffix, erosion. After a prefix, before the suffix, infusion. After a prefix, before a suffix, incision. Notice that this one is an I, and it's an example of a word where the I takes on a short I sound rather than an I. But this just shows why it's important to have a good vocabulary, because if you read it as incision and you didn't know the word incision, you might not realize you read it wrong. But if you read it as incision and based on the context, you thought it had something to do with cutting, you might think, oh wait, that must be the word incision. Okay, if you have a word that is more than one syllable and it ends in the letters LE, you're going to divide 3 letters from the end. So right here, We have more than one syllable, which we know because we have more than one vowel sound in these. So we're going to split 3 from the end. This E is in the middle of a syllable, so we're going to use the short sound. So we have kettle. Split right here. This A is at the end of the syllable, so we will try the long A sound to get fable. Split right here. This A is at the beginning of the syllable, so let's try the short sound to get apple. We're going to split 3 from the end. Let's try the long vowel sound first for table, maple, and cycle. Remembering that a C says S before an E, I, or a Y. Now these E's at the end of the word do not get pronounced. So they are silent E's, and they are there because every syllable needs a vowel. Now our mouth can actually say these sounds, tull, bull, pull, without really using a vowel sound. But in written English, every syllable needs a vowel sound, so we just stick it on at the end, even though it doesn't really do anything. Okay, go ahead and try that word. Divide, try that rule. Try these words by dividing 3 from the end. Okay, these 2 A's are at the beginning of a syllable, so we will use the short sound. Ankle, ample. This I is at the end of a syllable. We know an I can take on, at the end of a syllable, either a long I sound of I, the short I sound of I, or before another vowel, a long E sound of E. If you're not sure which one to try first, try the long sound first. Bible. Well, I recognize that word, so we will use that. Right here, we will try the long I sound first and then go on to the short I sound if we don't recognize it. Title. Our syllable starts with a vowel, so let's try the short sound first. Uncle. So if we have words with more than one syllable that end in EL, we divide 2 letters from the end. So all these words, I divided 2 letters from the end, and right here and here and here and here and here, we have vowels in the middle of the syllable, so we will use the short sound. Here we have a vowel at the beginning of the syllable, so we will also use the short sound. So we get camel, level, vowel, intel, panel, and revel. Go ahead and try that rule on these 5 words. Okay, so for the first 2 and the last 2 words, our first syllable has a vowel in the middle, so we will use the short sound. This one, our syllable ends in a vowel, so we will try the long sound first. So we have model, jewel, cruel, chapel, and vessel. Now right here you have a double S, so you could also split it right here, but that would not change the pronunciation. All right, we're going to practice some words using all 8 rules we have learned. So go ahead and start with these words. You will find it especially helpful, I think, to start with dividing after the prefixes and before the suffixes, and then applying the other rules after that. All right, right here we have the prefix D, the suffix ent, dependent. Right here we have 1 prefix and 2 suffixes. So if we can recognize this, this, and this, we already have most of the word figured out. Unwillingness. Right here we have the prefix miss, the suffix meant, which only leaves us right here to figure out. Oh, age is also a suffix, so we can split there. And the word man is easy, so mismanagement. Right here we have the prefix in, the suffix chur. I know it looks like ture, but that is really hard to say, and so when people are speaking, at least in American English, the TU and the T tends to take on more of a ch sound, like in the word picture. All right, so, and then we're going to divide after a vowel before a blend. So we could try this as infrastructure using the long A sound, but I don't recognize that word. However, if I try infrastructure, I recognize that word. Now, you might wonder what happened to the long A sound of A? Well, for words with many syllables, not all the syllables are pronounced with the same amount of stress or volume or emphasis. In this word, the in part becomes more important. And as a result, when we pronounce it, the sounds that would otherwise be a long vowel sound, if it's in an unstressed, unemphasized syllable, tend to get muffled, and that's called schwang, where they tend to take on either a short U sound of or sometimes a short I sound of I. So that's what happens in this word, infrastructure. This syllable we say with a little less emphasis, a little quieter, because this is the one we're emphasizing. And as a result, the long A sound disappears. Okay, we're going to split this word between two consonants. And right here, we've got three vowels, but O and U stay together. So we split right here and get virtuous. Here's another example where the TU winds up sounding more like ch, just because it's hard to say. All right, go ahead and try it on these words. Again, I recommend start with circling or dividing or underlining, however you're doing this. Start with the prefixes and suffixes and then use the other rules. All right, so I recognize the prefix in, so I'm going to divide here. I recognize the suffix us, so I'm going to divide here. We have STR. S and T are a blend, but T and R are also a blend. So we could divide it here or here. Either way, it's not going to change the pronunciation. This I is going to take on a long E sound because it's before the letter O. This U will have the short U sound in the middle of syllable. Industrious. Right here, the prefix un, the suffix ing, suffix ness, unwillingness. Right here, we have the suffix shus, remembering the CI is one of the Latin spellings of the sh sound. After a vowel before a single consonant, so we have judicious. You'll notice in this word, the I takes on the short I sound rather than the long I sound. But let's say you didn't know that and you read it as judicious. Well, this is why having a good vocabulary is very helpful, because if you have listened to audiobooks or podcasts or anything that was first written and then read aloud, you will have a bigger vocabulary than just listening to everyday speaking, and then you might recognize the word. All right, for this one, we're going to split before the suffix chur, after the prefix in, after a vowel before a blend, infrastructure. And this is another word where the in part is accented. This is not accented, so the A becomes the muffled schwa sound of Right here we have the prefix con. We have the suffix shul, remembering that the SI is a Latin spelling for the sh sound. And we divide after a consonant before a single, after a vowel before a single consonant. Controversial. I hope you found this helpful. Here are some other resources that you might find useful. The phonicsPage.org has a lot of information. Actually, it's a little overwhelming. And they have YouTube videos. The book, Uncovering the Logic of English, goes into detail about these things I've talked about today. And the author also has a lot of information about spelling. And if you have a beginner reader, a great place to start is Phonics Pathways. That's what I used with my kids when they were little. It only goes up through maybe a second grade reading level, however. So once your child can read, say, Dr. Seuss or Frog and Toad books, then it might be time to start working on the syllable division more. If you have any questions, feel free to post them. At some point, I will also be making some worksheets to go with this, and I will post links in the video description.